gorgeous human beings, and welcome back to the channel, Summit of Sisterhood. This morning or this afternoon with Silke was absolutely beautiful. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your vibes. Today we have such a beautiful lineup because the next person I'm going to bring up is honestly a rare energy in the world. Like, I find that the kind of person who's genuinely the way you're going to experience Dr. Niikee here in a moment, it's very rare. People can put this on for a minute and you always wonder, like, when they turn the camera off and no one's watching, then who do they become? Like, who's this person really? Because it's just so unique and rare to have this kind of peace about you. And it's one of the things I've always felt so drawn to with Dr. Niikee is her availability for things to just be right. It's like, no matter what's going on, it could also be that things are just right. And she finds an easy path to that. She speaks idealistically the way I do, and she makes a lot of sense with it. And I'm excited for you to get to meet her today because she's one of the people in the summit that's also made a lot of connections behind the scenes, who's been available for people and who's really made a lot of deep connections outside of what we had put together. Like, she made her mark. And so I'm excited to bring Dr. Niikee forward for you today. Dr. Niikee Yogini, are you in the house?
Hello.
Hi. Let's see.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. And, with all my sisters as well. I love that there's like the gallery up there. I can see on the Zoom here. We've got all the beautiful faces. Hey, everyone. Thank you.
So the first thing I'd love just to give context, because anytime I see a person who's got doctor in front of their name, I want context. So can you tell us more about where the doctor piece comes in?
Yeah, so I guess I'm a research doctor, so I have a doctorate. My research was in natural medicine, and interestingly, I was originally drawn to it because it's with that holistic model. It was all about to help people help themselves. And I remember when I was doing a careers paper in high school when I had no idea about, what I wanted to do with my life. And I literally picked naturopathy out of a hat. And, at the time I hadn't heard of it, and a lot of people hadn't heard of it, as well. That was more than 30 years ago now. And it really, when I started looking it up, there was a statement in there that was to help people help themselves. That was like an activation for me. And it was like, oh, this is it. And, how I still basically work in that holistic model, working a little bit more energetically now with spirit, with the body, mind, spirit in the holistic sort of framework. But it's still the same. It's about how we can empower ourselves to empower others, to empower others, to empower others, to empower others, because it's about this collective energy that we are and what we're walking into in the new paradigm that is available to us already, but it's when we choose, because we're all free will beings.
I love this. And so I would actually love talking about the New Earth dynamics to kind of touch sisterhood in those dynamics and how that comes together.
Yeah, so, I guess from what I've been sharing, because I work with the Ascended Master Guides, and, a lot of information that's coming through me, I'm learning from as well when it's being shared with people as it's supporting them for their own evolution. And, in essence, where we're situated at the moment is there's the old world dynamics, which is the stuckness, the limitation, the suffering, the focus on everything that's wrong with the world. And so this is like the density, the heaviness. And then there's like this expansiveness that's happening as well. And so a lot of the time we're walking between the two. It's like we know there's a better way. We know that there's other ways of doing things, but because of habit and patterns and, that we've seen since birth, it's nobody's fault. This is just the way that we've learned as we've grown up, is with this energy, this kind of this stuckness and this limitation. And, the more that we're kind of opening to this, the more that this becomes available as well. And so it's kind of like this filtering out. It's the ripple effect, really. And, you know, the benefit of having a sisterhood and having that unity type of support around is that it's not just you being different from these people here anymore. And then you're the strange one, you're the weird one that's, you know, a little bit woo-woo or whatever, because you've got these ideas about this. And so, you know, the more of us that come together and walk this line and recognize that this is what's here already available for us when we choose and based on our beliefs, that, you know, having that and knowing that there's so many more people that also are walking this path and recognize this as well is going to strengthen this a lot more quickly for us as, you know, our collective as we walk forward. And, you know, I'm so excited, you know, to be a part of this and to be, you know, alive at this time as well. It really is quite phenomenal when we choose to look at it like this. It's like the coin. We can always look at the shady side of the coin or look at the sunny side of the coin. It's always there. And because we're free will beings, we have a choice. We have a choice on where to look. Where do we want to put our focus, which then creates the energy.
So I'd love to hear what your vision is for this new earth dynamics. Like, what is this? What does this look like in your mind's eye?
Yeah, so, you know, in my awareness, the shift from the old world into the new world is a change in perspective. It's not like we need a whole new planet. It's like the planet is absolutely perfect and abundant exactly the way that she is. It's really the way that we view our lives through our subconscious that allows us to be able to perceive this in that way. And so it's as we do the work, you know, the inner work that a lot of us are recognizing more and more the importance of clearing out these old stories, recognizing the untruths that these are, you know, all of this unworthiness and, you know, not lovable and, you know, not trusting and all of those things, they're untruths because they take us away from the truth of who we really are, and that's divinity. So we are this divine essence that's having this human experience, and we're just layered with all of these stories that have come through generations and experiences that keep us separate from, you know, the truth of who we really are. And so as we work through these, we actually lighten our energy. And as we get rid of the density, we can actually hold more light, which is literally what's happening from a physiological perspective as well. And so as we get rid of those heavy, old, outdated, unhelpful programs, our energy is able to expand. And as we expand, we start to hold more light. And as we hold more light, we remember the truth of who we are. And then we start to see this because this is already here too. This is this expansion. This is this recognition that life happens for us and not to us. And, you know, rather than staying in this stuckness, recognizing the gifts in sometimes experiences can feel really awful in the moment or not where we want them to go. But then down the track, we can often get the privilege of witnessing, if we allow, that was actually lucky that happened, because then it wouldn't have actually allowed this greater expansion to occur as well a little bit later.
So I'd love to know, in your experience of the channel, because I know this was a big pivotal piece in sisterhood, like how did that affect your work or your ability to do what you do? Because you've shared that the cracking that sisterhood code, like having access to that, it made a difference. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, it's actually incredible because, you know, I guess a lot of my life, because I am so open energetically and I receive a lot of information all the time, that it's when we're coming from a place of nervous system reactivity, we're attuned to danger. And because of that, it was like I was picking up people's judgments a lot of the time, which I now realize was more judgments as a reflection of their inner self and not necessarily about me. But when I was younger, I just naturally assumed that it was about me, you know, as you do. and, you know, so I was always in this nervous system kind of, it's not really safe, still doing my thing, but behind closed doors, I'd be like, do you know what I'm talking about? Nah, all right, nah, I'm not here. Oh, hang on, they're a little bit open. Yeah, you come in, quick, quick, quick. I guess a bit like the old days in a way. But, but what that did is it really limited my capacity to be able to allow more people to recognize within themselves, what I was sharing with others and, what's already there as well for everybody. And, so being in this sisterhood, being held in such a way with non-judgment, like it blew me away that there was like, everyone was just like, and it was just beautiful. And it helped me to really anchor into myself because I felt safe. And then by anchoring into myself, it's really just allowed me to, not just do these kind of little sharings with people. It was just like, this is what we're here for. And, to witness all the women in their own power was just so beautiful for me to be able to access that as well.
So here's an interesting question. What, like what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of conversation? Like what happens when a person is like, I would love to have that, but I don't have that sisterhood available to me. Like, I don't even know where I would start. I think people are judging me. What if I don't have access to a group with that level of care and love? And like, where do I start? What would you say to a person who's in that place now where they are hiding? They feel like it's very dense right now. And they're hearing you speak, but what they're really hearing is, until I find the perfect sisterhood, I don't know that I'll ever get out of that fear.
Yeah, beautiful question. So what in my experience, what I've found is that everything starts from within. And as long as we're holding on to that, it's not safe to be out there, people are going to judge me, it is dense, whatever our thought forms are, is what our perception, which is then what filters back to us as well. And so what was a big shift for me to be able to access that safety as well was to recognize that it's already there. Because everything's already there. Like this is there, the old density is there, but this is also there. And it takes out the inner work to change our perception to recognize that that's already there. And once we can hold that it's already there, then it becomes, because we're a match then for it as well. And so, if you're feeling like, that it's not safe and you're in hiding and where's this sisterhood, I recommend really diving into the depth of the beauty that you are within, allow that to be, and you're going to magnetize your likeness to that. And you will find people who are like you when you're being in your uniqueness.
So here's my contemplation on this, because when we look at what happened in the channel, what I think was kind of spectacular is that it came from such a weird channel. It was an idea, it was a thought, it was a channel. The whole thing really made no sense. Like, for those of you who don't really know what happened, I just had this very clear voice that said, you've got to open this amount of people, this is the price, this is what it is, and we'll tell you what it is later. And I kind of just didn't know, like, what do I do? It was right before I was supposed to go on a call. It was even weirder than this. I might tell the whole story later throughout the week, but it was a very weird experience. And I was really faced with, like, do I do this or do I not do this? And I went with it. And so everyone that ended up in the channel didn't end up in the channel because of a big promise that was made. They didn't end up in the channel because of an ego thing of, like, you're going to be cool if you join. It's like nobody even knew, none of us knew what was going to happen. It really was like a calling of souls, because there was no information. It was like, if you feel it, you were going to end up there. I didn't even know. I couldn't even tell people. I just had a feeling. I couldn't explain it. And so what I think the opportunity was for that is that I didn't come in saying, I'm going to lead you and I'm going to be this for you. And it was more like, we're going to build something, like we're going to be something. The messages that were coming through for me were very much like, we won't even know we don't even know how good this is going to be. We can't even start to begin to understand what it's going to be. It's going to last a lot longer than we thought it would. And in the end, we'll know each other more than we ever thought we would. Those were the kinds of channels, the kinds of things that I would get, but there was no context for it at first. Do you feel like the fact that it was set in such an equal playing field may have been responsible for how quickly we accessed sisterhood in there? Like, do you think maybe the way it was presented, where it wasn't really like you guys didn't know something, you're coming to learn from me, it was more like a calling of the souls? Do you think that could have been responsible for that energy being available for you so quickly?
Yeah, you know, it really was like, in hindsight, it was a pull. Like, I got this whole entire visceral. It was like, message the team now. And I was like, what? I don't even know what that is. And I was kind of rushing out the door to like do something. So I just dropped the phone and it wouldn't leave my head. It was like, get back on there, get back on there, get back on there. And, you know, I think that really, and, you know, I think we all feel like that. It was a calling, like you said. And so it totally, it was a pull. It was meant to be, I think, for us, in that way. And, you know, for others too, it's like, there's a lot of things that are meant to be. And it's really just about trusting. When you get that inner feeling, that inner knowing, don't go into your mind, because the mind tries to get logical, and logic doesn't understand the felt sense. Logic doesn't understand intuitive insight. Logic doesn't even understand energy and frequency really from that felt sense. Like, why are we doing things? It's like, it doesn't make logical sense. And I know you say that quite often, and you know, that's the magic, that's the expansion into this, is that this is logic. This is, we have to believe it. We have to see it before we believe it. I love that old saying. But it's like, no, once you believe it, then you get to see it, because that's the opening. That's the opening into that other part that we don't access largely as a collective, that, you know, our inner truth, our inner wisdom, which is that higher frequency divinity that we all are as well.
This is so interesting, because when I think back to the whole goal for me, the reason Alpha Femme came to be was this idealistic sisterhood, you know, she who leads herself, together we rise, for me, for you, for us. Like, you do it because you can, but you do it for the world. And we do it together and we support each other. And there's been so many tests, which I was talking about at the beginning of all this today. There have been so many tests along the way. But what was so magical about the channels, it felt like a response to the idealistic views that I have. It was like, I knew deep inside that there could be sisterhood, and I just needed to get out of my own way in order to really experience it. It needed to not be something I was trying to do. It needed to be something I allowed to happen. And I feel like for a lot of us, when we're hearing what Dr. Niikee is saying, you know, you're stuck, it's dense, you've got all these beliefs, and now you've got to open up your mind and you've got to believe that it's possible. And I think a lot of us have the question, but like, how do I believe it's possible? How do I make it? How do I create it? And I think what I'm really getting from this discussion with you is it's very much more about allowing. It's about allowing this density of thought, allowing this density of evidence, allowing this density of what the old paradigm has been, and all the evidence of that women, you know, are pit against each other and want to watch each other fail and don't want one to outshine the other. Like, all that density is just about saying, but what if a lot of us don't want that? Just what if a lot of us don't want that? And just allowing it to just relax a little bit, and it not be so tight, not have the belief be so tight. And I think the other part of it is that we actually create the sisterhood, whatever that looks like, instead of waiting for other people to be this, tell me about you, shine, you know, I'm listening, I care. It's like we bring that, because that for me has been my experience of you since the first moment I met you, is that you walk into every room like this. And so I'm not shocked that you manifested a bunch of people who looked at you that way, because that's how you are for people. So I'd love to hear, like, you have this channeled, like, new paradigm energy healing. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. So, just back to what you were saying, I love that bit in the middle there
Yeah.
about, the density, the tightness of the density. And the beauty is because we're a collective, that every time any of us does the work to remove a pin out of a collective faulty program. So say there's, we might think that we're unworthy, and there's, probably 500 million other people in the world, right, that have got that same program. But every time someone does the work to pull the pin out of that program, it does get looser. It gets looser. And, even though we can sometimes think that what difference can we make as one person, we actually do, because we are a collective energy. And the looser that the program gets, the easier it is for others to continue to pull the pin out of those same programs as well.
Okay, that is an image that is absolutely brilliant. I love that. Like as a one person, you might not feel like it's making a difference for you to pull out one pin, but what you don't realize is it actually loosens up a programming that's got so many people pegged in, and the minute your pin gets removed, it starts to be looser, and other people have faith they can start pulling their pins out. This is such a good visual. I love this.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, this is exactly how it's happening. And, if we're plugged into the old earth, like watching the news and all the rubbish on the telly and all of those, the bad news, it's like, that's all we believe is possible. And it's like an entrapment. But the reality is that there is so much of this work going on everywhere in the world, that there's so much beautiful lightness coming through too, that it's happening already. It's already happening. And, it's there for us to plug into. But again, we need to believe it and, and gravitate. The more time you spend in this type of energy, the more that you come into resonance with it. And it's the same, because energy comes into resonance with itself. And so while we keep ourselves stuck in this old thing, we're stuck in there. Whereas the more we allow ourselves to, what if this is possible? Because it is. What if, what if? And then it's like, and then that's literally how it opens. And then you magnetize more of that evidence as well. It works the same both ways. But energy is not selective. It just is what it does. And so really, depending on where we're sitting along that, that trajectory is really where more evidence starts to come in.
So what are some pins that people listening to this summit of sisterhood, what are some pins that you could invite people to start pulling at in order to experience this new possibility?
I think it's anything that we recognize is a faulty program that we have. When we incarnate, our soul desires to have certain experiences. And those experiences, say an experience might be to learn to evolve through and back to the love that we already are, which is the inner journey. And so in that timeline, the person may be in a family that isn't able to love them for whatever reasons. They then magnetize relationships where they're not loved because they've got this story that they're not lovable. But it's only for the benefit of that person then coming back to their own divinity, to their own love, so that they become the love that they already are. And that's the evolution. And this is the offer of the human journey, is for evolution. And, and so we invite that in a way by doing the inner work, connecting in with, what is at those deeper layers. And, it reflects back to what you were saying then about this new ebook that's come into creation. It actually came off the back of when we were talking about this summit. And you said to us, what would we share? Could we share with the world that, would really make a difference? And so I sat with my guides, and they said, share what we've been teaching you about the evolution of your service, like some of the key parts, with energy medicine. And, so there's 3 main key codes. So one of them is all about the nervous system, having a relaxed nervous system, because again, like we were talking about density and constriction, that's a nervous system response. I mean, everyone's felt it when you're stressed, it's like your energy goes into this danger, looking for danger. That's just physiology. And I talk to that in the e-guide as well, that's actually how physiology operates. It's not a mental health problem that most people, I believe, have. It's a stress problem, because that's precisely how the physiology works in stress conditions. And so if we can do the work on the nervous system, then the energy can expand. And when we're more expansive, we can allow ourselves to become more of who we already are. And I think that's a main awareness as well, is that we're already divinity. It's not something we need to seek out or become. It's like we're already that, and it's coming back to that by getting through all of the layers of story and things that that we've carried through generations a lot of the time as well.
What I love when you explain this, first of all, anytime Dr. Niikee's saying anything and you're like, oh my gosh, I want this on a quote, please make sure you write it out, because I've heard so many quotable things that you've said so far. One of the things I really love is like, you become the love that you already are. And when you become the love that you already are is such a self-fulfilling prophecy that allows you to get lost in the woods for a minute without losing hope. So when you're becoming the love that you already are, it's more like a deconditioning of anything that you're not, for this inevitable thing where you're just going to be who you were always going to be, no matter what. And I love this because I feel like that's where the pins make sense. So many people are seeing something that's very, very wrong. They imagine something is wrong. But a pin being stuck in energy that makes it sealed shut is not wrong. It's just in the way of what it already is. And so if you look at this beautiful open flower, I look at these flowers behind you that are beautiful and wide open, I could very easily pin the petals shut. I could very easily pin the whole thing down, but that would not be the flower that it already is. It would just be this constricted, dense petal scrunchy thing with a bunch of pins in it. And as soon as I took the pin out, the leaves would open and it would become the flower that it already was. And so if we can see that for ourselves, like we're this opened, blossoming divinity, human being, magical source person, magic on legs, walking through the planet. And for some reason, when life has given us something that dysregulated our nervous system, we clenched, we shut a petal, and then we shut another petal, and we stuck a pin in it to make sure it didn't reopen so we weren't vulnerable. And so we're just sticking all these pins in this flower. Now it's dense and it's shut, but that is not the flower that it already is. It's not the love that it already is. It's not the power that it already is. And so you pull out the pins one pin at a time because you're safe, because it's possible, because what if, and because there's evidence everywhere of some flowers that have remained open, that it is possible. And it's what you already are anyway. You just have to take the pins out of the flower you already are.
Yeah, precisely. Totally. It's beautiful, isn't it? And it's such a relief when you recognize that we're already divinity, and there's just all these other untruths that, again, it's nobody's fault as well, which is another really important aspect. It's nobody's fault. It's just repetition of those same patterns over generation that's got us to where we are now. But because we're at the change, it's the grand change of our, I want to say, dimensional realities without getting too woo-woo. But it is.
We're at the change of our dimensional reality. Like what? That gave me chills in my toes.
Well, yeah, it's 100%. That's what this is. This is an up-leveling of consciousness, of human consciousness, into the perspective of beyond all of this, into that perspective that we are already that unconditional love.
So what I love about this, and it comes back full circle with what we were talking about, is that when you think about it, what sisterhood is that there's always flowers that remain open. and flowers that are pinned shut. And when the sisterhood wounding takes over, the flowers that are open judge the flowers that are shut, and the flowers that are shut judge the flowers that are open, and it causes separation. When in fact, all the flowers that are pinned shut are meant to be opened, and the ones that are opened are the gateway. And the acceptance and the love of that, of the pain, of the shame, of the hurt, of the whatever it is that keeps us from just opening when we want it, instead of saying, how dare you be open, or it must have been easy for you to stay open, or you don't even know why I had to shut. If you knew anything, you'd shut too. And this one's saying, no, I'm proud that I stayed open, and you can't discredit my openness by saying if I hadn't suffered, I would have shut. Like, these are the discussions that happen among women. That really is what sisterhood is can I choose to be open or closed without questioning the beauty of who's open or closed without me, around me, and knowing that ultimately, one pin at a time, as we pull those out, that is the rising of the collective sisterhood, is one pin at a time, so we can all open without judgment of each other and in support of each other as that's happening.
Yeah, 100%. And like, this is where we're at. You know, this is what is so beautiful, and why I was drawn to your work when I first saw your stuff. It's like, yes, we're on the same frequency with this. You know, I feel exactly like so many things you said. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. That is exactly how I feel about so many things. And, you know, this community that you've created here has really allowed a lot more of us to come together that do feel like this deep within. And this is like the healers of the world. You know, whether you work in a healing practice or whether you're somebody who's supporting others to, you know, become who they, or come back to the truth of who they are, that's all healing in a way. And we're all here to walk each other back through to that, because we already know that in our depths, which is why there's so many of us walking at this juncture in the human collective as well, because it's like, it's time. Come on, everyone, come on, we can do this, we can do this. Like, getting goosebumps too, getting all the chills. But it's 100%. And, you know, and that's what we're here for. All of us, everyone who's connected into this space, it's like, that's what we're here for.
I'm in love with this discussion so much. I feel there's so much. I love the symbolism that you use and the imagery that you use. I find it so easy to see it and to feel it as a part of us in the way that you explain it. It's a really, really beautiful thing. So now when you work with people now, you have a doctorate, you understand all these incredible concepts. What actually is your work? If people are wondering, like, okay, what is your work? What do you do? Who do you work with?
Yeah, so I work with healers. I have a school for metaphysical practice, and so I do a lot of different teachings on different levels. And I also have this beautiful practitioner program that's come through in the last few years, where the guides have said to me, you really need to teach people what we've been teaching you. And, you know, having that clinical background from clinical naturopathy, I've worked in the medical school and the naturopathic school, and they were like, you're the perfect person. You've already been doing this for so long, working in that clinical environment. And so, you know, there's this beautiful co-creation that's been birthed of this new modality, intuitive energetics, that, you know, I've been training practitioners with as well. And then I also do, you know, I do mentoring for healers to help them to really just come into their own gifts, their uniqueness. Yeah. So.
And you decided you want to give a process on this call. You said you want to take people through something.
Yes,
so this is quite a treat. Like, we're actually going to get to experience Dr. Niikee in action, which I feel is an extraordinary gift. And so what is the best way for people to experience this next piece with you?
Just relax. If you've got space to relax, close down your eyes. And so it's just going to be a bit of a guided journey. It'll go for about maybe 10 minutes.
Amazing.
Approximately.
So I'll close my camera so you're in the spotlight. I'll have the Alpha team play your music, and we'll go with that, and then we'll catch each other on the other side.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you for this.
Good, thank you. Get yourself nice and comfortable. Once you're comfortable, if you can, close down your eyes. Taking that opportunity to arrive to this space. Noticing yourself wherever you are. Noticing your feet, legs. Feeling where your sit bones are connected beneath you, the beautiful earth. Feeling that gentle rise and fall of your torso with each breath. As you breathe in, feeling that spaciousness, that expansion. Breathe out, that softening. And with each breath, it's allowing it to be as it is. And slowing that breath down. Maybe you can draw it a little deeper. Allowing more of that spaciousness for you to simply be out of the thinking mind, in your beautiful heart space. Anchoring your energy down into the earth. Take your awareness down into the earth. Noticing how that feels. Noticing the qualities of the earth beneath you. Maybe you can feel her stability, her support. Illness that comes with that. You connect into that energy, bringing some of that energy back up into your energy so you feel held and supported. Always are by the earth. She's always there. And allow yourself to soften into that and to be held by the earth. And as you continue to breathe into that, taking your awareness now back onto your breath. Feeling that beautiful breath move out right through the very center of your chest. You might imagine you're breathing in through the front, out through the back. Breathing back in through the back, out through the front. You continue to ride those waves, creating a softening through your beautiful heart space. Softening and an opening, knowing that you're safe. Now, if you take your awareness right into the very center, your heart, it might be like diving down a deep well. Maybe you're taken somewhere off into the cosmos. Either way is perfect. Right in that very center. Seeing if you can notice a light. If it's a distant star. forever flame. Seeing a beautiful light break through. And as you notice this light, it comes forward. This is your light, the light of source, the light of consciousness, that same light that exists within all things. And as you continue to breathe into that, your light comes forward into presence, starts to fill your heart space. Light is unlimited. It requires no effort. It already is. Through its acknowledgement, it comes into the now. It comes into presence. As you continue to breathe into that, feeling that light start to fill your whole heart space. Not able to access the light at this time, that's perfectly fine. Sometimes it takes practice. This can be the first place that we close down. Practice. The light is there because it's already you. So as you continue to breathe into that, allowing your beautiful light to be right here, right now with you, becomes brighter and more vibrant. It starts to grow and expand, radiate out in all directions. Your light continues to grow and expand, just feeling into that, noticing how that feels. Beautiful, unconditional love, joy, gratitude, acceptance and tolerance, all of those frequencies that are resonant with your beautiful heart, with your true essence. And as you continue to breathe into that, your light grows and expands, activates this re-remembering in all of your DNA, re-remembering of you, feel you beyond the stories. As you continue to breathe into that, relax and simply allow this light grows and expands. Starts to fill your whole body. It continues to grow and expand. Starts to move through all of your energy layers as well. Through you and around you. Continues to grow and expand into the room where you are. It continues to grow exponentially. Starts to fill your entire house, your block, wherever you are. All of the surrounding streets, you continue to grow and expand. Light starts to fill your whole town, your whole city. And it starts to join with your other sisters here. those in the now and those who will listen back later. Our lights continue to fill countries, across the oceans, circle the whole planet. Our unconditional love, that deep knowing of why we've come, holding this love for all. Those who are not able to access it for themselves at this time, we hold it for all, with no exceptions. All is already that. It's just sometimes forgotten. You continue to breathe into that. Bringing forward your intention for the collective, your true intention. That frequency, your why. Breathing into that and allowing that to ignite you even more. Feeling this collective energy, knowing that you're not alone. You've got this already happening. Take a few more big, deep breaths here. Holding that love that you already are. That faith that you know within so well. Breathing into that and allowing that, your essence, to infuse all of your light, collective light that we have, already changing everything. Continue to breathe into that. Feeling that feeling becomes the encodement. How does this feel for you? Holding that feeling, your frequency, to become that magnetic, so that you may find more just like you. Know that we're already here. Take a really long, deep, deep breath now. Right to the very end of your breath, and pause. And as you release the breath out, starting to bring some gentle movements back, however it feels good for you to move to help with that integration. Knowing this frequency is always here. The act of 5 minutes a day, allowing yourself to remember this part of you, will start to change everything even more. Thank you and honor you for your participation. Know that all that you do is so valued.
was so beautiful. Thank you. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. You have the perfect voice for these things. Wow.
Thank you too, dear heart. Thank you for all that you bring as well. Amazing.
Thank you for this. So I want to read you Dr. Niikee's bio now that you've had a chance to experience her. And what I find so fascinating, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, you cannot define yourself in a 150 character bio. You cannot capture the essence of a person in a text. You cannot say, oh, this is the short version of who this person is. It's worth it. It's not. You can't. This is why although I love bios and I think they give great context, I love to read them after, because you only ever really care about a bio once you care about a person. And so I want you to hear this now in honor of this incredible person and what she's created in her life, who she is, what she represents. After you've experienced her is when this matters. Dr. Niikee is the healer's healer and the principal of the school for metaphysical practice, which is a modern day mystery school for healers. With a research PhD in natural and clinical medicine, in her work she incorporates age-old wisdom and intuitive guidance with quantum science and the current research on, I don't even know how to explain this word. Say it for us, Niikee.
I don't know what I wrote on there.
Polyvagal?
Oh, polyvagal theory. Yeah.
Polyvagal theory.
Technical chat.
Consciousness and the mysteries of the quantum field. If I read this, I am not expecting this person, are you? I'm like, I don't think this person can touch me. It's too far, but she's right there in the vibes. Dr. Niikee's teachings and processes are based in energetic medicine and ancient mysticism, supporting light workers to open their unique gifts so they can fully step into their soul-led service. Niikee works with channeled guidance from ascended masters and other unconditionally loving beings of light, as well as shamanic journeys and other practices to support other leaders to shift resistances that come through timelines and ancestry. Niikee works with unique light encodements and reharmonizes her clients' innate blueprints in alignment with their divine plan so they can walk their higher path and do what they came here to do. This is like a master sitting at the top of a mountain kind of energy where you're like, I don't think I can even understand what this is. But once you've experienced it, she really just is, quite simply put, gifted and connected. And so sometimes the hardest thing to do is to describe in words when you're gifted and connected. How do you explain that? And really what it takes sometimes is just for the world to have a chance to experience it, and then they get it. It's usually how it goes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there
Thank you.
anything
What
else
a privilege. What a privilege. The guides are very excited that we got to be able to share with, so many beautiful people on your wonderful platform. Thank you so much for having this space for us.
Of course. Is there any last thing that you would want to say as a closing for the end?
The opening is through your uniqueness. Be you, just be you, and allow you to be who you already are. That's the magic. The magic is already you. Everybody, everyone's gifted. Everyone can do this as well. It's really just allowing it to be.
That was perfect. The opening is in your uniqueness. That is, wow. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. Thank you for the imagery. Thank you for the most beautiful interaction. And I will see you more in the channel. I'm sure we'll see you a few more days as a participant, but thank you so much for being here and for all the light that you shared today. One thing I want to leave you with this was our final call of day one. So day one comes to completion. Can you see how very extremely different these two women were today? Like when you think of sisterhood and you think of people coming together and getting along, this is not what you expect. You don't say, oh, let's take this one person from Germany that's in the fashion world that's going to Dubai next week, And let's bring this person together with with this metaphysical goddess that's a doctor connected to light work through ancestors and ancestors connected to great ascended masters. And let's say they're a match made in heaven. It's like, how does that happen? But it does when you understand the energetics of it, because they're both entirely themselves and entirely unique and not needing each other to be the way the other is. It's an acceptance and a love and a curiosity for the beauty and the value of each person. That's how this starts to work. And so although you might feel more connected to one energy type or the other, the goal is, can you see the beauty in all of it? Can you see the value in all of it? Can you see the similarity in all of it, even when it's not quite as easy to spot? So thank you for being here with us. We have so many incredible people coming tomorrow. We're kicking off with Colleen. I am so excited.
Yeah. They're all just, they're just so, I feel honored to be, you know, in the presence of all of these wonderful women that you guys are going to get to experience. So please enjoy.
And you know what the wild thing is? If you were up next, if you're a participant in this room, every time we say we're so honored and we love these people, it's because we know them. And I would not be shocked if you had been sitting in the channel with us for 2 years, we'd be saying the same thing about you. Because the beauty of sisterhood is not that just a few people are good enough. It's that when you get to know people, you love them all. I hope you're already getting this on day one. Thank you so much for day one. This has been phenomenal. I'm excited for what comes next. I'm grateful for the 2 speakers we had today. Silke, Dr. Niikee, thank you so much for your love, for your generosity, and we will see you all here again tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.